Madam State Regent, it is a pleasure and a privilege to introduce our guest speaker, Captain Donna Curtis Rowe. When the Fielding Lewis chapter nominated her for the DAR Medal of Honor, the National Society soon contacted us with the following message. The DAR Medal of Honor has been enthusiastically approved for Captain Donna Curtis Rowe. What a privilege to have her here with us this morning. Captain Rowe is a Vietnam veteran who served as a United States Army nurse in the war zone of the Vietnam War. Performing triage and ER medicine in a war zone has to be one of the most demanding jobs imaginable, and Captain Rowe was the head nurse in charge of this task. A film about Captain Rowe's Vietnam War service is on permanent display at the Smithsonian American History Museum in Washington, D.C. Several months ago, she was selected as the first female for induction into the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame. Born in Massachusetts, she now lives in Cobb County, Georgia, where she is a well-respected community leader. Captain Rowe is a true American patriot who served our country with great honor and bravery. She continues to serve our country as an advocate for our military veterans, especially our Vietnam veterans. Captain Rowe's life is one of extraordinary leadership, extraordinary trustworthiness, extraordinary service, and extraordinary patriotism. Please join me in welcoming Captain Donna Curtis Rowe.
Thank you very much. We're rearranging up here. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Now, I told your wonderful State Regent, Joyce, who I just have fallen in love with in the 5 minutes I've known her. She is tiny, isn't she? That I do move around. So if I break your military protocol, I've done that before. Okay? You can imagine what I was like when I was 23. I do want to thank Anita, and I do want to thank your State Regent, Joyce, for inviting me to this wonderful and prestigious event. I also want to thank Helen Story, who is one of my compadres. I call her a groupie. Everywhere I go, she ends up out of Cobb County. Thank you, Helen, for meeting me when I arrived. It had been a very long day yesterday. But in sitting here last night, I said to myself, you know, these women just haven't really grasped how powerful they truly are. So I went upstairs last night and I rewrote my speech, and I rewrote it for you after what I saw last night. I want you to know that leaders are not made. They become. In my opinion, leaders become who they are by the circumstances for what they face. A few short months from now, we will be celebrating the 16th anniversary of 9/11. I want you to remember the man in the tower in the stairwell that reached in and pulled another person through a hole in the sheetrock. I want you to remember Todd Beamer on an aircraft in Pennsylvania headed towards our nation's capital or White House, and he stood up and said, "Let's roll." I want you to remember the first responders that ran towards the buildings while everyone else was running away. Circumstances made them great leaders in time of our country's need. I admire a lot of great leaders. I have met wonderful leaders in my life. I study great leaders. I study them for who they are and what they've done and why they did it. The main thing of great leaders, and I'm going to tell you this because I think you all are great leaders, not only in Georgia, but in Connecticut, and Texas, and Tennessee, but you, the DAR, have a leadership core that you must tap into. The first thing of great leaders is they have trust and faith in those around them. The ability to delegate. I have seen leaders not know how to delegate that are very bad leaders. I know you know who I'm talking about. You have to be able to make a decision and stand with that decision. My mother gave me a plaque when I was 12 years old, just recovering from polio. On that plaque it says, make the best decision you can at the time of absolute certainty never arrives. In other words, lead, follow, or get out of the way. You have to have the ability to accept criticism. This is one of my biggest weaknesses, I'm going to admit it. But I have great friends like Helen Story and the rest of the girls over there in Cobb County that keep me in check every once in a while. And you have to be like Condoleezza Rice, one of the great leaders in the Bush administration said, you can never lead from behind. You cannot lead from behind, you must lead from the front. The women of Vietnam did that. One of my favorite leaders, female leaders, was Margaret Thatcher, the great Prime Minister of England. I studied Margaret Thatcher. I studied the way she did things. I studied the way she handled things. That woman had tenacity. She did things that most men wouldn't have done, and did them well. I am the chairman for the Veterans Celebration in Cobb County, and this year it happens to be October 28th. You're all invited to come. It's a wonderful celebration, but during these times I studied various battles and the heroes of these battles. And I have studied World War I, World War II, War of 1812, and of course the Revolutionary War, where my relatives served, some on some side and some on the other. Coming from Massachusetts, we had that in the family. We had the Loyalists, and then we had us revolutionaries. But in that study, I was studying the Battle of Normandy. The week of Christmas, December, Belgium. Visualize Belgium in December. Cold, raw. You are surrounded by a panzer division of Nazis. And General George Patton comes in there with the First Army. General George Patton, Old Blood and Guts as he's known, was the commander of that army in the Battle of the Bulge. He was a very unique leadership style. He said in one of his speeches, never tell people how to do things, tell them what to do and trust in their ingenuity. General Douglas MacArthur, whom my mother and father just loved and respected very highly, and were very upset with President Truman for removing him from duty, he had a very different style of leadership. I have a picture of him hanging in my office. And there's a quote on this picture. A true leader has confidence to stand alone, courage to make tough decisions, and the passion to listen to the needs of others. He does not set out to be a leader, but becomes one by the quality of his actions and the integrity of his intent. Now, how does this all work into my story? I'm going to come down to the floor and tell you. Thank you. I like to walk around when I tell this part of the story. You all will I apologize to the head table in advance. But I will turn around and talk to you occasionally. But these ladies need to have me down here with you to understand the magnitude of what I'm going to tell you. I served in Vietnam with some pretty wonderful men and women. I want to tell you about the women first. There were 265,000 of us women that served during the Vietnam War. 11,000 of us literally had a boot on the ground. 98% of them were Army nurses. Of that 11,000, 8 names are engraved in the wall in Washington, D.C. All Army nurses. There's still one POW MIA, missing in action, female doctor, never was recovered. When I went off to war, my husband and I have been married 2 years. We both volunteered. Unlike the liberal media of the day, the Dan Rathers of the world, the John Kerry and the Jane Fondas, they said that we were misfits, we were drug addicts, we were dropouts. I'm here to correct that story. 74% of the men that went to Vietnam volunteered. 100% of the women that went to Vietnam volunteered. We were the best educated military this country had ever put to war up until that time. My husband had a PhD. I had a master's degree. We weren't alone. The men, I don't know any of my men, 39 of them, that did not have some college education or strong high school standings. They were not misfits. I ran the largest shock trauma triage emergency room in Vietnam. My men, average age, 18. Just so you'll know, of the 58,267 names on that wall in Washington, listen to what I'm saying, 58,000. Of the 58,000, 33,301 were 18. 5 were 17. 4 were 16, and 1 was 15. Visualize how young we were. The women, I was an old woman in Vietnam. I was 23. The average age of the women was 21. We grew up in Vietnam. My daddy said it best when I came home. My sister was complaining about us baby killers. She was liberal from Massachusetts. I don't have to explain that, do I? To Connecticut, you know what I'm talking about. So she was complaining complaining about us baby killers in Vietnam, not knowing the story I'm going to tell you. I never told the story that ended up in the movie until 34 years later, when I opened this black scrapbook for the producer of the film. I had 39 corpsmen in my triage emergency room. I had 42 doctors, of which one of them might have been her father. Stand up. He was a surgeon. He served at 3rd Field Hospital in Saigon. He also served at Walter Reed. He also served at DeWitt Army Hospital at Fort Belvoir. Our paths did not cross, but we hopscotched each other's assignment, and it was my honor to meet her today. I had 42 doctors, 3 terrific Red Cross volunteers. Now, in World War II, they called them donut dollies. I never saw them give anyone a donut. What I did see them give was the compassion and love and care that I did not have time to do. My job was to make sure you were breathing, you weren't hemorrhaging, and I needed your name. Because 9 times out of 10, the dog tag didn't come in with them because they put it in their boots. And they tripped things and lost their boots. So my job was to get their names. But these Red Cross girls would stand over them, hold their hands, listen to them screaming for their mothers, listening to them scream for their wives, listen to them tell about, don't let me die, I've got 2 children at home. That's what those Red Cross girls did.